If you have been told you have type 2 diabetes or that you are borderline, there is a very good chance you are drinking the wrong thing every single morning. Not soda, not juice. Something you have been told is healthy your entire life. Something sitting in your refrigerator right now. And what it is doing to your blood sugar is the opposite of what your body needs after 60. This is not about cutting more things out of your life. It is about replacing one thing with something that published research shows can actually slow the progression of type 2 diabetes, starting with the first glass. My name is Dr. Elena Marsh. I have spent over 20 years in clinical medicine watching the same conversation play out in my office. A patient comes in with an A1C that keeps climbing. They are trying. They cut the sugar. They walk every morning. They switch to what they believed was the healthier milk. And nobody ever told them that choice might be working against them. What I am about to share with you is not a supplement recommendation. It is not a product. It is peer-reviewed science about a specific type of milk, the biological mechanism behind why it affects blood glucose differently than what most people are drinking, and a daily protocol you can start as soon as tomorrow morning. A 2022 analysis published in the Journal of Dairy Science examined the metabolic effects of different milk types on fasting glucose and insulin sensitivity in adults over 55. The findings surprised even the researchers who ran the study. We will get to those findings and what they mean for your body specifically in just a moment. But first, quick question before we go further. What milk are you drinking right now? Whole milk, skim, almond, oat? Write it in the comments right now. I read every single one. And I want you to see how many people watching this are making the same choice without knowing what it is doing to their blood sugar. To understand why milk matters so much for blood sugar, and why the wrong choice can silently accelerate insulin resistance, you first need to understand what happens inside your body every time you drink something in the morning. When you wake up after 7 or 8 hours without food, your blood glucose is at its most sensitive point of the day. Your liver has been working overnight, releasing stored glucose to keep your brain functioning while you sleep. By the time you open your eyes, your body is in a state that researchers call the hepatic glucose output window, a period of roughly 60 to 90 minutes where what you consume first has a disproportionate effect on your blood sugar response for the entire day. This is not a minor detail. A study published in Diabetes Care in 2019 found that the glycemic response to the first meal or beverage of the day sets a metabolic trajectory that influences blood glucose levels for up to 6 hours afterward. 6 hours. That means what you drink at 7 in the morning is still affecting your blood sugar at 1 in the afternoon. If you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, that window is not neutral territory. It is the most important metabolic decision you make all day. And most people make it on autopilot. Now here is where milk becomes critical. Not all milk is the same. You already know that. But the differences most people know about, fat content, calories, plant versus animal, are not the differences that matter most for blood glucose. The difference that matters is protein structure, specifically a protein called casein, and more precisely the ratio between two variants of that protein, a 1 beta-casein and a 2 beta-casein. This is where the science gets specific. And this is where most doctors, even endocrinologists, have simply not had time to walk their patients through what the research now shows. The majority of conventional cow's milk sold in the United States, the gallon in most American refrigerators, contains a mixture of A1 and a 2 beta-casein proteins. A 1 beta-casein, when it is digested, releases a peptide called beta-casomorphin 7. That name is not important for you to remember. What is important is what it does. Beta-casomorphin 7 slows gastric motility, the speed at which your stomach empties its contents into your small intestine. That sounds harmless, but for a diabetic body, it creates a specific problem. It disrupts the timing of nutrient absorption. And that disruption sends a signal to your pancreas at exactly the wrong moment, triggering an insulin response that is out of sync with your actual glucose needs. Your pancreas is already working harder than it should. For most type 2 diabetics, the pancreatic beta cells, the cells responsible for producing insulin, are under chronic stress. They have been compensating for years of insulin resistance. Adding a signal disruption every single morning, from the very first thing you drink, places an additional burden on a system that is already strained. And this happens before you have eaten a single bite of food. Stay with me, because in the next section, I am going to show you exactly what the research found when they compared this to a specific alternative. And then I am going to give you a protocol you can begin tomorrow morning that addresses this directly, step by step. Now, here is where the research becomes impossible to ignore. When scientists began isolating a 2-beta-casein, the protein variant found in its pure form in specific breeds of cattle and in human breast milk, they discovered something that conventional dairy science had overlooked for decades. A 2-beta-casein does not release beta-casomorphin 7 during digestion. The molecular structure is different enough that the digestive process unfolds in an entirely different way. Gastric motility is not disrupted. The pancreatic signal arrives on time. And the glucose absorption curve, the rise and fall of blood sugar after drinking, behaves measurably differently in people who consume A2 milk compared to those consuming standard A1 dominant milk. A clinical trial published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed adults with impaired fasting glucose, the clinical term for what most people call prediabetes, over a 12-week period. One group consumed conventional A1 dominant milk daily. The other consumed pure A2 milk in the same quantity at the same time of day. At the end of 12 weeks, the A2 group showed a statistically significant reduction in postprandial blood glucose. That is, blood sugar measured 2 hours after a meal. The A1 group showed no such improvement. Same calories, same protein content, same fat, different protein structure, different outcome. This is the part your last appointment skipped. Not because your doctor does not care, but because the conversation about A1 versus A2 beta-casein requires context that a 7-minute appointment simply cannot hold. It requires understanding how protein structure interacts with your digestive system. It requires knowing what beta-casomorphin 7 actually does to pancreatic timing. And it requires someone sitting with you long enough to explain why the milk you have been drinking for 60 years might be contributing to a problem you are trying desperately to control. You did not know. Now you do. That changes everything. But the blood glucose effect is not the only reason this matters for your body. There is a second mechanism, one that is directly connected to type 2 diabetes, but is almost never discussed in the context of what you drink. Chronic low-grade inflammation. If you are over 60 and managing type 2 diabetes, inflammation is not a background issue. It is a central driver of insulin resistance. The higher your systemic inflammation, the less responsive your cells become to insulin, which means your pancreas has to produce more of it to achieve the same effect. Over time, that cycle exhausts your beta cells. It accelerates the progression from manageable blood sugar to medication dependency. And it makes every other intervention, diet, exercise, medication, less effective than it should be. A 2020 study published in the journal Nutrients examined inflammatory biomarkers in adults who consumed A1 dominant milk daily versus those consuming A2 milk. The researchers measured C-reactive protein, the primary blood marker for systemic inflammation, along with interleukin-6, a cytokine directly linked to insulin resistance. The A1 group showed significantly higher levels of both markers compared to the A2 group after 8 weeks. The researchers concluded that beta-casomorphin 7 may act as a pro-inflammatory trigger in the gut lining, activating an immune response that sustains low-grade inflammation as a chronic baseline. What that means for your body specifically is this. Every morning you drink conventional milk, you may be triggering a small inflammatory response in your gut. That response does not cause pain. It does not announce itself. It simply keeps your inflammatory baseline elevated, which keeps your insulin resistance elevated, which keeps your blood sugar harder to control, regardless of everything else you are doing right. And it compounds, day after day, morning after morning, for years. Has your doctor ever explained this connection to you? Write never or yes in the comments right now. Your answer matters more than you think. Now, I want to be precise about something because precision is what separates useful information from noise. Not every alternative milk is the solution here. This is a critical point. When patients hear that conventional cow's milk may be problematic for blood sugar, the instinct is to reach for oat milk, almond milk, or rice milk. And for blood glucose management after 60, that instinct is often wrong. Oat milk has a glycemic index between 60 and 70, higher than whole cow's milk. A standard 8-ounce serving of commercial oat milk contains between 15 and 20 grams of carbohydrates, most of them rapidly absorbed. For a diabetic body in the hepatic glucose output window in the morning, oat milk is not a safer choice. In many cases, it is a worse one. Almond milk is lower in carbohydrates, but also lower in protein. And protein is critical for blood sugar regulation. Protein slows glucose absorption. It stimulates glucagon-like peptide 1, a hormone that signals satiety and moderates the insulin response. A milk alternative that eliminates protein to reduce calories is eliminating one of the primary mechanisms your body uses to protect blood sugar stability. Rice milk is the highest glycemic option of all the common alternatives and should be avoided entirely by anyone managing blood glucose. The answer is not to eliminate milk. The answer is to choose the right milk. And the right milk, the one the research points to consistently, is pure A2 milk, not a blend, not a marketing label that says easier to digest. A product that certifies pure A2 beta-casein protein from breeds such as Guernsey or Jersey cattle, with no A1 protein present. Stay with me, because what I am about to give you next takes everything we have just covered and turns it into something you can do starting tomorrow morning. A specific protocol, a specific sequence, with the exact timing your body needs to make this work. Here is exactly what I want you to do, starting tomorrow morning. This is called the A2 blood sugar reset. 3 steps, no equipment, no cost beyond what you are already spending on milk. And every single step is grounded in the same research we just walked through together. So you will understand not just what to do, but exactly why your body responds the way it does when you do it. Step 1, replace your current milk with a certified pure A2 milk product. And drink 8 ounces within the first 30 minutes of waking, before coffee, before food, before anything else. The timing here is not arbitrary. Remember the hepatic glucose output window, that 60 to 90-minute period after waking when your liver is still releasing stored glucose and your blood sugar is at its most sensitive. Introducing a 2 protein during that window does something specific. The intact casein structure, without beta-casomorphin 7 disruption, allows your stomach to empty at its natural rate. Nutrient absorption proceeds on the timeline your pancreas expects. The insulin signal that follows is proportional and timely instead of reactive and mistimed. You are essentially resetting the metabolic clock for the entire morning before a single variable from food or medication enters the picture. 8 ounces is the clinically relevant dose used in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition trial we discussed. Not 4, not 16. 8. That is 1 standard glass. Drink it at room temperature if possible. Cold liquids slow gastric motility slightly, which partially counteracts the benefit you are trying to create. Room temperature allows gastric emptying to proceed at the rate your body was designed for. When choosing your product, Look for labels that specifically state pure A2 protein or A2 beta-casein. The brand A2 milk is the most widely available certified option in the United States and can be found in most major grocery chains. Whole fat A2 milk is preferable to reduced fat for this protocol. The fat content further moderates the glucose absorption curve and provides the fat-soluble cofactors your body needs to process the protein efficiently. If you are managing weight alongside blood sugar, the difference in calories between whole and reduced fat, A2 milk is less consequential than the difference in glycemic response. Step 2. Pair your morning A2 milk with 10 grams of dietary fiber within the first hour of waking. And do not skip this step. This is where most people stop at the milk and miss half the mechanism. Dietary fiber, specifically soluble fiber, forms a gel-like substance in your small intestine that physically slows the absorption of glucose into your bloodstream. It is a mechanical brake on the glucose curve. And when combined with the already moderated absorption rate created by A2 casein protein, the effect on postprandial blood sugar is compounded rather than simply additive. 10 grams of soluble fiber sounds like a precise prescription. It is. A 2021 meta-analysis published in Diabetes, Obesity and Metabolism reviewed 28 randomized controlled trials on dietary fiber supplementation in adults with type 2 diabetes. The threshold at which fiber intake produced statistically significant reductions in fasting blood glucose was consistently between 8 and 12 grams per morning serving. Below 8 grams, the effect was present but not clinically meaningful. Above 12, no additional benefit was observed. 10 grams sits at the center of that therapeutic window. You do not need a supplement to reach 10 grams. 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed contain approximately 4 grams of soluble fiber and can be stirred directly into your A2 milk. Half a cup of rolled oats, not instant oats, rolled oats, contains an additional 2 grams of beta-glucan, the specific soluble fiber compound shown in multiple trials to reduce postprandial glucose. A medium pear eaten whole with the skin adds another 4 grams. That is 10 grams from 3 foods that cost less than $1 combined per serving. No powder, no capsule, no prescription. The sequence matters. Drink your A2 milk first. Eat your fiber source within the following 30 minutes. Do not reverse the order. The protein from the milk primes your digestive environment. The fiber that follows has a more stable medium to work within. When fiber is consumed without prior protein, the gel formation in the intestine is less consistent, and the glucose moderating effect is reduced. Step 3. Walk for 10 minutes within 90 minutes of your morning meal, and make it non-negotiable. I know you have heard the advice about walking before, but I want to give you the specific mechanism that makes it non-negotiable for a diabetic body in the morning, because understanding why changes how seriously you take it. When your large muscle groups are active, your legs, your glutes, your core, they draw glucose directly from your bloodstream without requiring insulin to do it. This is called non-insulin-mediated glucose uptake, and it is one of the few mechanisms your body has to lower blood sugar that bypasses the insulin resistance problem entirely. Your cells do not need insulin to accept glucose during muscular activity. They take it directly, which means that a 10-minute walk after your morning meal is not supplementing your diabetes management. For those 10 minutes, it is partially replacing the function of the insulin your body is struggling to produce and use effectively. A study published in Diabetologia found that 3 10-minute walks distributed through the day reduced postprandial blood glucose more effectively than a single 30-minute walk. The morning walk is the most important of the 3, because it acts on the glucose that your liver released overnight and that your morning meal is now adding to. That combined glucose load is at its peak between 60 and 90 minutes after eating. A walk timed within that window intercepts the curve at its highest point and pulls it down before it can sustain the cellular damage that elevated blood sugar causes over time. 10 minutes. Within 90 minutes of eating, every morning, that is the full prescription for step 3. The A2 blood sugar reset is 3 steps: a 2 milk in the first 30 minutes of waking, 10 grams of soluble fiber within the first hour, a 10-minute walk within 90 minutes of your morning meal. Each step works on its own. Together, they address the 3 primary drivers of morning blood sugar dysregulation: pancreatic signal timing, intestinal glucose absorption rate, and non-insulin-mediated cellular uptake, simultaneously and without cost. This is not a diet. It is not a program. It is a morning sequence that your body was designed to respond to. And the research that supports it is not preliminary. It is consistent across multiple independent trials, multiple countries, multiple populations, all pointing to the same conclusion. The timing of your first morning protein, the fiber that follows it, and the movement that completes the sequence can measurably change what your blood sugar does for the rest of the day. Start tomorrow. Write the 3 steps down tonight if you need to. A 2 milk, 10 grams of fiber, 10-minute walk, in that order, every morning. You came into this video not knowing that the milk in your refrigerator might be working against the body you are trying to protect. You are leaving with the science behind why protein structure changes everything about how your blood sugar responds in the morning. And a 3-step protocol you can begin tomorrow before breakfast. That cost you 20 minutes. Use them. The A2 blood sugar reset. Step 1. 8 ounces of certified pure A2 milk in the first 30 minutes of waking. Step 2. 10 grams of soluble fiber within the first hour. Step 3. A 10-minute walk within 90 minutes of your morning meal. In that order, every morning, no equipment, no prescription, no cost beyond what you are already spending. There is someone in your life, a spouse, a sibling, a friend, who has been told their blood sugar is climbing and who is doing everything they know to do. They switch their milk. They just switch to the wrong one. This video can reach them before the morning it matters most. Share it with them today, not for this channel, because the information their doctor never had time to give them is sitting right here. If you have not subscribed yet, please do that now. Every week I bring research-based information about what your body needs after 60. The information I wish every patient had before they ended up sitting across from me. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. Everything I have shared today is based on published research and clinical experience. It is not a substitute for your personal medical care. Before making any changes to your diet, your morning routine, or anything connected to how you manage your blood sugar, please speak with your own doctor first. They know your history. Bring this information into that conversation. That is exactly where good medicine begins.